Namaste, I'm Srilata Shankar. In our Leadership Talk series, in collaboration with MyStartupTV, our guest today is Uma Sudhir, a well-known journalist, executive editor of NDTV. We welcome you to MyStartupTV and Leadership Talk series. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Srilata. I was resident editor a few years ago. For the last 8 or 9 years, I'm executive editor with NDTV.
Right from your graduation and your post-graduation, and what got you into journalism?
I am actually a science honors graduate from Hindu College in Delhi. And initially, I was thinking I would, at that time, Kiran Mazumdar Shah was an icon. And I thought, okay, entrepreneurship is probably one way of going about it. But civil services was another attraction. Actually, I used to think that there are so many fields that were very exciting, whether it was law, whether it was journalism, whether it was civil services, or even entrepreneurship. And I remember as I graduated, I realized that I do have the passion to know about people, wanting to know about people, and so on and so forth. And after I graduated with science honors from Hindu College, I joined the Times Research Foundation, which is a Times School of Journalism. In those days, we didn't have graduate schools of journalism, actually. This was the most professional among all those schools of journalism. And there are about 15 of us in our course. And I joined the course open-minded, and I thought I'm going to sit for the civil services the next year. And therefore, a grind in journalism or exposure to the kind of curriculum that they developed for that year was very, very exciting. And so I thought I would get into it. But once I was in it, I realized that it is adrenaline and it is addictive. You can't really, wean yourself away from it, because it was all the time exposing me to new things that I could learn. I could meet new people, and somehow what I thought would be a 1 year kind of a period that I would spend in journalism and then move on. That didn't happen because I kept doing different.
The bug had bitten you.
Absolutely. So I joined the Times of India at Delhi, and I worked first as a sub-editor. Soon enough, I was senior sub-editor and then a chief sub-editor. I was bringing out the editions of the Times of India. At the age of 24, I was probably the youngest editor, bringing out a newspaper in the national capital, which was the Times of India from Delhi itself. So it was exciting. Subsequently, I moved into, I moved to Hyderabad. I married Sudhir, who also happened to be a colleague of mine at the Economic Times there. And both of us decided, he joined New Delhi Television at that time, which was actually an enterprise that we knew as college students, saying the world this week. Yes, all of us.
Yes.
One great attraction. All of us admired him, loved him. And therefore, when Sudhir got the opportunity to jump, he did. And we thought we'd come for a year to Hyderabad just to see how it is to work from a state capital. And then we came to Hyderabad, and the place kind of grew on us, and it was beautiful. It was the days when actually NTR was chief minister. But as soon as we came here, the August coup happened, and so many political developments happened. Mr. Chandrababu Naidu became the chief minister. And then Hyderabad became, in a sense, quite a centerpiece for the country, because he was talking about IT for the first time, issuing licenses. So like that, I got kind of absorbed into journalism, and there was no way I was looking back on it. And then television happened, 24/7 television. Then Prannoy Roy and Radhika Roy offered me to join NDTV. I said, my husband works for the same organization. It may be a little, kind of awkward. They said, okay, we both are husband and wife, Prannoy and Radhika. And they said, nothing awkward about it. I think it'll make a great team. So that happened. And here I am, 25 years in NDTV, some 33 years in journalism.
A wonderful tenure that you've got, Uma. What are this podcast is for the young professionals, students as well, engineering management students, and probably law and journalist students. So what are the inputs that you can give for a student who's probably in his or her graduate, and she's clueless of what to do, but journalism kind of attracts them? What are the inputs that you would give? Point one. Point two is, what do you think are the challenges for a young student who wants to take up journalism? And third point is, what are the challenges that you faced as a journalist?
You don't have to have done journalism to become a journalist. I, of course, went through a course post my graduate degree, but I was a science honors student. I also did an MA in public administration simultaneously. So, of course, that has something to do with journalism, in the sense that you understand how the governments are working, how the constitution is working, and so on. So But I had engineers in my course. I had somebody from XLRI, somebody who was a medical doctor. People had done different things and come. So one of my classmates, in fact, who graduated from XLRI, Raju Narisity, again a very well-known journalist who worked for the Washington Post. He went. He was an internationally well-known journalist. So you could have done anything and then come to journalism. And I think if you have a passion for storytelling, then this is something that you could explore. And the rules of the game have changed substantially from when I started, because the format of doing journalism itself has changed quite a bit, evolved, I must say, not changed. The basic rules remain the same, that if you are a professional journalist, you would be checking facts, you would be, ensuring that there is balance, you ensure that there is fresh perspective and relevance for people. We started off at a time when there was no internet explosion, isn't it? So there is no information that is available for you to do a story or look up anything. You have to go to the library, look up books, read them up, and then know about it, or talk to people and then do it. Now, this generation will not even begin to understand what it
True.
was like, because you just have to Google it and you get
It's a click of a
everything ready.
button. Yes.
And AI, you have even articles coming out of it. But journalism is something else. It has evolved uh, in many more meaningful ways than that, and it's very relevant as well. So for students, I would say, if you've done law, if you've done engineering, even medicine, uh, MBA, advertising, whatever your field may be, science students, all of them could take up journalism. And journalism doesn't mean only now, of course, magazines or television or radio. You could be doing what Srilata, you're doing, podcast as well. And you could be doing specialized things. And much more important, digital technology has become a great equalizer, democratized the space. Technology gives you so many options now. So you don't have to be competing with the big media houses, a Times House or an NDTV or a News 18, or the international players, CNN. You're not competing with any of them, and yet you can create your own unique brand and your own unique presence on the digital media, because costs have come down. And what I'm saying now is that everyone can now be someone who produces that information. Everyone is a consumer of information, all right. But the challenge is how creative you're going to be, what is your USP going to be in making this, and the fact that you must make sure, that is, I think, the bottom line, that credibility, trustworthiness, relevance. Of course, you have to be interesting. You have to be able to, because
Integrity as well.
now. Earlier, you put out anything. See, in Doordarshan days, we said anything you said. I mean, there was only one channel, so you had no choice to go to anyone
Right.
else. But now, people have everyone's watching on a mobile phone, and the mobile phone is really the a small device which can take you across the world, across different experiences, and to be able to catch that space. That's what is the challenge for the youngsters. And I think they are very well equipped to do that. Well equipped because they know technology, they know how to use it, and how to use it in a very creative manner. Storytelling doesn't have to be the way it was when we started, or what we did, at least for a few years. We have also evolved. We have changed a lot. Now, though you know me as a television journalist for the last 25 years, I'm actually much more a digital journalist than a television journalist. NDTV has been a market leader, not just in India, but world over in the digital space. So I'm much more of a digital journalist, and all of us exist across multiple media platforms. So what I would tell youngsters is that it's a very fascinating field, very exciting, and something that offers uh, it has a lot of potential. It's for you to exploit it, identify what your particular strengths are, and identify what your passion is, and what
Mm.
can be relevant to others, interesting to others, and then take it forward. So when you ask me, for journalism students, or no, anyone for that matter who wants to take up journalism, or should I make a larger word, media, because now youngsters understand. The other day I did meet with the CEO of YouTube, Ishan John Chatterjee, and he was saying the short video is the big thing now. So everyone's has the talent, and the tools are available online for everyone to.
Absolutely.
It's up to you to make the most creative use of it, create your own personal brands, and stick with it, or rather evolve with it. And you have a ready-made audience. People are making big amounts of money with that, and also earning respect popularity. I think that also is a driver for many youngsters, that they want to be popular, that they want to be influencers. Uh, so this is a good field to be in, because you can earn credibility. That depends on, of course, what kind of content you're going to put out, and how regular you are, and how you maintain that kind of should I say, standard focus, and decide to build your brand around what you think you should be.
I agree to what Uma mentioned. I come from a commerce background, went on to do my HR, continued to work as an HR and L&D leader, and this just came, by my side, and I grabbed it with my both my hands and legs. I said, why not do podcasts? And like Uma mentioned again, the internet space, digital space is such a plethora of opportunities that one can dig into. You have Uma, you have covered elections, you have covered floods, you have covered even aspects like bombing, etc. So what are the things that you were scared of, or for want of better words, scared of, or challenges that you had gone through, and how did you overcome it? Especially that because you're a mother as well, you have young children, had young children, then it would have been very, 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 very demanding. So how did you cope with all this?
Scariest part perhaps is to be before the camera and to make a mistake. It's not the situation itself, but that itself, to be live on camera in the most demanding of circumstances, to always be factually right, because one thing you say wrong and you can actually be destroying lives, or you can be saying things that can cause immense harm and can have an impact on people's lives and situations, whether it's a flood, whether it's a fire, whether it is an accident, whether it's a scam, whether you're reporting a human interest story. So all of that is what is most scary about live television journalism, I think. The first thing. The second is the physical circumstances. Of course, you'll be covering disasters. You could be in flood, you can be in earthquake, you could be in situations where there's a fire, huge fire. All that, again, of course, the challenge of being there on the ground, being factually right, uh, reporting sensitively, at the same time giving information that's useful to not just your audiences, but also not violating the rights of anyone who you are reporting about. That is a very important challenge, and something that I keep in mind all the time when I'm doing that. Elections, politics, again, very challenging in these times, especially because any word which is one word more than necessary, or one word which is seen as you are displaying any kind of predilection or bias, and you are trolled like nobody's business. And therefore, you have to maintain that space. So even if you're very, very neutral, people are going to troll you, because now for political parties, it's a professional work that they do, that they have not they have thousands of people who work for political parties, each political party. Earlier, it may have been one or two. Now, every political party has an army of people, and if you're putting out anything that they feel is negative for their party or for their leader, then they will go after you and try to rubbish what you say. More than that, they'll be very offensive. They can be aggressive. They can be violent,
Absolutely.
verbally violent, and they can actually threaten you with physical violence as well. So that happens all the time. That you must be able to take in your stride and move forward, and uh,
Succumb to it.
not decide to react to everything, because it's a very toxic area, and you could really end up a mental wreck if you were to listen to all the things that people may want to say about you. Because the only good part is that we say this side is also trolling you, that side is also trolling you, and therefore you're very safe. That yes, you are in neutral territory. You have not, you've done nothing wrong one side or the other. What So the dangers are there in political reporting, that people can attribute motives to what you're saying or otherwise. But my theory has always been simple, that you keep your distance, you keep your dignity, you need no favors from either side, and you maintain the neutrality. People who are being nice to you may not be, please don't read meaning into it. Realize that it is because you are in a particular position, so they are nice to you. But
Yeah.
people are taking you, you take yourself seriously. Don't take what they are treating you like very seriously, that, oh my God, I'm so important because they're talking to me. And everyone from a CEO to a chief minister or ministers treats you well. That's because you are in a position where you can ask questions. And I think that's a privilege that the position gives you. And I think we need to use it very, very responsibly, because it's a privilege that you are questioning on behalf of so many other people who are voiceless in society. And you have that privilege of being able to question those people and they become answerable to you, because in a democracy, we do believe that the media can ask questions and the government is answerable. So that's a position of privilege. The second thing is, even if people dismiss your work, I think we should take it very seriously. Whenever I am talking to journalism students in colleges and otherwise, I tell them that the job is very important. Everywhere people may be trying to trash your credibility or say that, ये लोग तो एक चाय पे बिक जाते हैं या पैसे पे बिक जाते हैं, whatever they may be trying to attribute motives. In every field there could be some bit of these things that happen, but you realize that you are responsible, and you are responsible, most responsible to the most voiceless. And therefore, given two choices, I would put my voice that side where it is the voiceless and become their voice, because I think that's a very empowering experience as well. Whatever you are, or as an individual or as an organization, is one thing that gives you a certain ability to articulate. And when you become the voice of people, the voice of voiceless, you realize that that's a very empowering thing, and it happens. You are asking about physical dangers. Physical dangers have been many, whether it is cyclone Hudhud, where we were kind of being blown away by the wind like that, and we are holding on to things, and then we realized we are holding on to one railing, and that railing fell, and we got was blown away with that. So those kind of situations happen. Orissa, I have covered the super cyclone 12, more than 23 years ago, when in Paradeep there was a center, and at that time there are no cell phones, nothing. There are only landline phones, and we drove all the way from Vishakhapatnam, Srikakulam, to Bhubaneswar, completely pitch dark, and we there is no phone. They were being on the highway. People had not got water. They had not got safe water or food, and they started looting whoever was coming there. And then I told them, see, your story has to go to the world. If you're going to loot our equipment and take it away, your story will not be told to the world. And they actually listened to us. The only place from where we could tell the story was actually, then there was a chief minister called Girinder Gomang, and a single satellite phone in the chief minister's office, and he was a very gentle kind of a man. And I said, no, I need to talk on your phone, and he allowed me, and I did the live transmission for what happened in Paradeep, because even the government had not got there. We got there before the government, and 10,000 people had died in that particular cyclone, super cyclone that happened. And wherever we went, even now, if you see on YouTube, you will find, or on NDTV website, you'll find, there's a beach, and I'm talking there, of course, some 25 years younger. But that, there's a earth mover, and there are about 8 or 9 bodies like that lifting behind me from the sands, because there's so many deaths that happened there. And we reached there with literally no food in hand. We had a couple of Haldiram packets or something left, but people there had not eaten for 2 days. So there is 3 days and so on. So then we gave up our food also. But now I think we went with one vehicle, and it's not even possible for us to call anyone. And you don't know whether you can come back and whether fuel will be available anywhere. At that time, when you go there, you don't realize all these dangers. You're so absorbed in telling the story. When you come back and tell the story, you're happy you did a good job of it. But what could have happened, when you think of all those things, then it becomes very scary. Same thing happened during, we went back to Orissa, another cyclone that just happened a couple of years ago. And at that time, Katak was the eye of the storm. Puri was the eye of the storm, and we were going there in an SUV. And this time, not even the OB-WAN, the mobile had become the transmission thing. We had apps through which we could, devices through which we could do in the middle of the superstorm. And there I was standing by the side of a tree and holding on to my car, the door, and doing it because the wind was blowing us away. And suddenly the door gave way. The door of the car gave way because the wind was so strong. And then we had to open the door on the other side, because the speed of the wind was so much that your car will just get blown away. If can you imagine, it is closed on one side and it is open from the other, so the wind will just blow it. So we had to just open the other side as well. And then I realized that this is dangerous, because you can just get blown away into the water. There is no end to it. All that you will get at the end of the day is RIP. Everyone will add to the RIP, and there will be nothing more to you than that. And I had responsibility, because there was a driver and there was a camera person as well with families. So those are situations that you find yourself in when you take a call and everywhere trees were falling, one fall, and it can be the end of your life. So while when you come back, you say, oh, it was exciting and we did this and so on and so forth. Bombings have happened. And before the police reached there, we reached there, bodies were there, bullets were there. And sometimes, there's something called a booby trap. They will leave a body there and then send out the message, and you go there and you say, oh my God, there's a body found. Police never go there. I found out later because you slightly move the body or anyone moves the body, it'll blow up because there'll be bombs attached to it. So that's a way of inflicting damage because they expect that the police will come back to look at the bodies, and they'll attach the bomb to the underneath the body itself. And then, so those kind of situations also happen. So we've done sting operations where we have got caught sometimes, got beaten up sometimes. Uh, I've been covering, for instance, trafficking. I don't know if I tell too many stories, but I have these stories to tell.
Please do.
So trafficking is something that I've been covering for more than 2 decades now. And if many people from Hyderabad, they recall in the late, just before 2000, 1998, 99, there are these adoption homes from where babies were so-called being exported outside the country. And then we did some raids and some ground reports and so on. And then the government changed its policy saying that, you don't, for ensuring that private homes do not hold babies anymore because they were being exported, actually being sold. There were, tribal babies being brought from Nalgonda. They were going to all the tribal belts, and the babies are very beautiful. All babies are beautiful, of course. These are endowed with more, should I say, because skeletally well built, and they are babies with fair skin, which unfortunately happens to be a big attraction again. And those babies were being sold, and then the government said we won't allow private homes. We will have only government run homes to be giving out the babies. Then when they were all shifted to government homes, we started reporting on it, and then the conditions there, the delays in the courts, and then they shut the doors to us saying, no, child rights, we cannot allow media anymore. So nothing that happens inside will be known to the world outside. Then a few years later, when the Renuka Chaudhary was the Union Women and Child Welfare Minister, and she brought in this policy from what was there in Tamil Nadu about the cradle babies, that you have cradles for babies so that the parents don't kill the baby, the infant. Therefore, cradle, and you say that if you don't want your baby, please leave this baby outside this hospital. There'll be a cradle that's left, and you can leave the baby so that they don't kill the baby. There was a feticide, infanticide. I have actually physically, that baby also is there in one of the videos. A baby it's a very cruel way even to describe you. I mean, how a newborn baby girl can be killed. They will leave them in the sun and not feed them any milk. And then the child rise up and dies. Or they put rice husk, is stuffed inside the baby's mouth. And so you ensure that the female baby doesn't live longer. So since that came, this cradle came as a solution for that. I'm trying to tell you the policy that comes and the outcome that happens on the ground, which is what we reflect when how the policy plays out. And then we went to a place called Devrakunda and Nalgonda and found in one place called Shishuvihar where babies are kept, government homes for them. And I found 23 babies, newborn infants, landing there within a month, which is really not even possible that in that area it comes. So what had happened was, and I met a mother who was pregnant for the 8th time. She had given up 2 babies and she was waiting for another, the earlier one, something else had died, like that. So it was her 8th pregnancy. And the mother-in-law told me, नहीं मैं अभी तो government सरकार बोल दिया ना कि baby दे सकते हैं. So you can give up a baby without guilt in heart that the baby is going to die because the government is going to bring up the baby and the baby will get a better home, and therefore my daughter-in-law can be pregnant again till she gets the male child. So that is the kind of outcome that happened for this. And then we suggested that the government must actually support these babies from with the mother, give them milk, give them water. Then we did another sting operation. We realized you don't even have to go there. There was a couple who came here and told us that the woman is pregnant and you will get a delivery of the baby in the month of June if you want. Scanning is done. There's a baby. So you will get a ready-made fresh baby in that month. So technology that comes, how it is used for not just sex determination, but also to pre-book a baby even before the baby is born. In another case, we went to follow up to see whether the government homes are now vulnerable for this kind of trafficking happening. And I went through a doctor who had told me that it is happening. And we went to a government home there, and there is an auto wala who takes us in, who's not have access at all. And he says, "Koi bhi baby le jaiye, madam, koi problem nahi hai." I said, "Ye baby to aap karta hai." He giving me recommendation. I said, "लेकिन ये तो सब सरकारी है. I can't. There must be a procedure to follow." He said, "नहीं, कोई problem नहीं." I said, "No, but registers are there, isn't it? Computerized, and you know how many babies should be there." So he said, "No, no, no. ये अंकिता है, समझिए. आप ये ले जाते हैं, तो कोई और बेबी आता है, तो उसको अंकिता बोल देते हैं. जो in our records, the record is straight that 45 babies remain 45 babies, and you won't lose any of them." So I was quite shocked by that. All this is caught on camera. We even did operations, sting operations, and that, and then we said, no, we're coming back during Ugadi to take the baby. And we went with another gentleman who was an activist, actually, who went along with me, and we went like a couple. And there was this lady, Dawn, who was dealing with me on phone and telling me that, or do you want the photographs on WhatsApp? We will show photographs and you can make your choices. That was the kind of use technology. We went once there, and the lady, Dawn, had bargained for 35,000 for the baby. And then this gentleman who was with me, he said, "नहीं, आप तो हमें baby भी दे रहे हैं, तो हम इनको एक अंगूठी पहनाएंगे," because she's there. And she got very, very worried. She got very worried because usually if somebody says 35, you say 15, and then you start bargaining. Right. And this generously offering. So she caught us. She caught us. She seized all our material. She kept us imprisoned for more than a day there. And then we were lucky that we kind of got out because she was a lady Dawn who was beating up people. She was also a murder accused, actually. She was a murder accused. So somehow we got out of that situation. She went to jail subsequently, but now, of course, is out on bail and continuing. Right. Unfortunately.
Uma, the stories that you have just told us is bone chilling to even hear it. My two questions is one, apart from the natural disaster, especially things like war and bombing, etc., your security is predominant for you and your family. So, what are the what is the right word? What is the areas that the your TV channel that you covered took care of you? Second is like I asked you earlier, your family also is very very scared of letting you go to such areas, whether it's cyclone or bombing or sting operations, because your security and your safety is predominant for them. Third question is your young children would have wanted you as a mother to be with them by their side, but your job was demanding and you had to travel across locations. So how did you manage all three of them?
Okay,
all three situations.
They're supposed to have a protocol for safety. I must say that in India, largely there are no such written protocols that are followed. Everybody does quite the random thing, and even when there's a landslide and there's a danger of things happening, and I must say that in most channels they would say, "आप वहाँ पहुँच सकती हैं क्या? आप यहाँ पहुँच सकती हैं क्या?" And it is very possible that that place is a landslide and you are down with whatever the situation. I mean, it happened in Uttaranchal. It happened in many places that we have had accidents. In fact, in Kerala, just last year, I think when an entire crew, which was doing the rains and cyclone in Kerala, died after falling into the waters in Kerala. So those kind of situations are not something that don't happen. But I'm saying whether it is a parliament bombing, now, of course, it was not a bombing, December 13, when this time, of course, there was a drama that happened. There is no danger to life. But whether it is parliament bombing, where media persons have got injured in the crossfire, people reporting from conflict areas, like my colleagues who report from the valley, when violence is on and they're reporting while still the agitation is on. Even in the Telangana agitation, I must point out, if you're recovering in an Usmania or something, the things were so animated and so hostile from both sides. And they would say, "Meer manavalla andi." I mean, they'll first take the I remember in one situation, there was stone throwing happening in Usmania University, and I had to go and do the live at that time. I was trying to do a live, and somebody had we were ducked under a kind of a shed to try and avoid the stone throwing that is happening. And I asked a guy, can I borrow your helmet? He was going to give it. Then he finds out, are you from Telangana or are you from the other side? That's what he wanted to know. I said, if you want the answer for that, then I won't even tell you the answer. I don't need your helmet. First of all, I'm not from either side is another matter. But the fact that somebody's life or being hurt is not more important. And it was more important for him to know whether I belong to Telangana or I belong to the rest of the state was very disturbing for me.
True.
And those situations are quite ugly. I remember when Jayalalitha was going to jail, when she was convicted and she was going to jail, and I was reporting outside Poise Garden, and all day long, they were all very hopeful that Jayalalitha is going to be released and so on and so forth. And by some time we knew that that was not happening, but we waited till the news broke, and then I am doing my reporting all day long. They thought it was happening, and they were, when I was doing the live itself, put sweets into my mouth, do that, all that. They were celebrating me and feeling very happy. And by evening, when it became obvious that she was going to jail, and I was announcing that, or I was reporting that, and I was doing that on Hindi channel as well. They said, she's from Delhi, attack her. And I'm on live, and they actually stoned our camera, broke our camera, and then everybody had to run away for their life. So they also do it not just because they are personally passionate about it, but also because Madam will watch NDTV. Madam is an English watching chief minister. She was a Jayalalitha is English watching, and she watches NDTV. And therefore, if they show their angst, they are showing enough of their grief or support for their own leader. So, but these are real situations where things can go really wrong. So, what does family do? They are, of course, quite tense about what happens, or they will keep telling me, "Romba avasiyama, is this Romba, do you need to go?" kind of a thing. I mean, and everyone has this thing, why do you only you need to go? It's of course true for everyone. I mean,
True.
I'm saying this is about parents or in-laws who may ask that. But I think over the years, they've understood what I do, and they know that you will be careful, whatever. I remember my daughter in that particular case where that lady had kidnapped us, and my phone was also with her. She had seized our phones as well. And my daughter didn't know. She was very young. I have only a daughter, and she was very young, but she was very tense about what had happened.
True.
Once, even during a cyclone in the coastal Andhra Pradesh, and I was not in touch on phone either, and I was not telling what was happening, and she got very tense sometimes. So she, once she grew up, she understood that, but there were times when she would get very panicky that what's happened to mom, and then she would ask my mother-in-law to call me or something like that. One of the big things that was always a support was because my in-laws also lived in Hyderabad, and they were looking after my daughter, and therefore that was a very big support thing. And I think that's a big blessing that we in India have, that parents-in-law
True.
are willing to pitch in like that. How much can you leave a child in a creche?
How did your family, or rather, how do you balance both the family and the demanding job?
So yeah, that I guess I answered without realizing it organically. The fact that you had help. What I also realize is for many, when we talk about women in leadership, one of the reasons why they don't take up roles of leadership is because they are worried that they have to give up on certain roles at home, and that is not something they want to make a choice, and that choice becomes difficult, and therefore they do this. And I say this to women that most of the time, if you think you can outsource some things, whatever you can outsource, you can't
True.
outsource being a mom, you can't outsource being a daughter to
Parent.
your child, or a wife to your husband, or a partner, or a support system to your family. That you can't. But certain jobs can be outsourced, and please feel free to do that. Get domestic help, get a cook who can help you, and co-opt them into this entire your ecosystem, so that life becomes easier for you, and you realize you will need to prioritize. If you sometimes need to say that I cannot travel, that is another very important thing I find among women who are high achievers, that they find it difficult to say no. Maybe I'm also a victim of that, that you find it difficult to say no when more and more tasks are given to you because you're an efficient. I have a very close friend who is a top officer in the government, and I find she's very good, she's brilliant, she's excellent, but because she's all that, they keep dumping more and more work on her and say, I think you should handle it. I think you should handle it. And you also don't know. I mean, oh my God, I need to do this. This is my responsibility. And you take on more and more and more. And at the end of it, I think you sacrifice your own life. I mean, one of the regrets that you should not end up having is that while you are professional and enjoying your life as a professional, I think most of us working women, one of the heights of fulfillment is also professional achievements and what you do professionally. When you interact with people, it gives you happiness. When you when you go out and talk to people, it opens up a world. So all that is important. And to keep that balance, I think one of the important things is to say that these are off my list, or I will do this only when I'm able to do it. I'm not going to take on everything. I can't also have, in Tamil houses, you'll have this golu during Dashara or something else during something else. I'll say I will not be hosting Golu kind of things. I will vicariously enjoy it when my friends host it, and I will enjoy it. I don't have to be doing it myself physically because I don't have the bandwidth to do anything like that. So you make your sacrifices, you make your choices depending on what is important to you, and it is okay sometimes if you uh, decide that I don't want to do a particular assignment, even if it is a very important assignment. I have, during, for instance, I was there in Sri Lanka during the bombing, I was there during the elections, I was there. But during the economic disaster that happened recently, I did not go. I have a mother who is 85 now, and she is a Parkinson's patient. I felt that my time is more precious here. I cannot, when I go there, I don't even know when I'll come back, and I cannot be going off for 4, 5, 6 days and so on. So things were bad, as during those days when everyone was out on the roads, uh, and fuel was not available, and you don't know what's going to happen next. So that was a choice that you have to make. You would say, "Oh my God, it's a very exciting thing that I would like to report about." You can think that, but then you have to make your choice. I mean, it's your choice ultimately about what you choose to do and what you don't choose to do, and then enjoy whatever you do, whatever your choice has been.
When you were covering the disasters or the bombing, like you mentioned, you saw a lot of dead bodies. How do you maintain your emotional balance? Because it's just not bone chilling, but it's very nerve wracking also as well. While you may be doing a fantastic job as a human being, you're very emotional as well. So how do you maintain your emotional balance?
These are very tough. Uh, Time and again, I hate going into those families where, from Andhra Pradesh, you have families that lose a child from, say, in the US, somebody has been stabbed. More and more such incidents are being reported where a 20-year-old has gone to the US to study, a lot of dreams that are riding on the child. And then the child has died in some kind of a tragic circumstance, a young person, 25, whose families are here, anything it could be. And then you have to go and meet with that family, and it is so heartbreaking. Sometimes there are suicide deaths that happen. Uh, One of the most emotional I've seen is all these school students just because of some failure in some exams. With those parents, there is something. Just in 2019 in Telangana, we had about 25 children who died after the intermediate exam results came, and they're all failed in the exam. And I've been covering suicide deaths by students, not just in the IITs or the big colleges, everywhere. I've been reporting on these, and these are so heartbreaking. I can't tell you because I sit and I can't help but cry. I have a child of the same age, and I know the emotion, the pain. Death anytime is very, very, very heartbreaking for that family, because the rest of the world does move on, but for that family, life is never the same. I've
True.
heard Kumbakonam, where you remember there's a fire in a school. This was in the year of 2003. And that child, I think 2004, I think. My baby was still breastfeeding, I remember. 90 plus children had died. Primary school children died in a school fire that started from the thing. So sometimes the outcome is that, like the suicides of these children I'm talking about, intermediate children, what I and Sudhir decided to do was we started because many of those children were also struggling with English and other things. So we started a
True.
YouTube channel called Study with Sudhir, in which we started teaching for free for children who needed that support. And it was not just a platform for teaching children, but it was also a platform for counseling, mentoring. And though I do hold a full-time job here, my office also knows about it. I mean, even my daughter teaches on it, even Tejaswini teaches on it. Sudhir teaches on it, and he's the main mentor. And he founded that organization along with my daughter. And it's a mentoring platform. And subsequently, in fact, the intermediate board here took our lessons and put it on their website. And during the COVID period, in fact, those lessons were available to the children free of cost, because we had already done it. I would speak in Telugu, and Sudhir would speak in English, and we would try to tell the children, because it was a big gap for them to be able to do the English lesson. So it was our way of in somehow providing that support, providing that counseling. You were talking about the personal journey of somebody when they lose their child, and then what you are doing along with that. I remember
Not
this.
just that, I understand what you're mentioning about the suicides. You may or may not see the actual body, but when you're doing disaster coverage or bombing coverage, you actually see dead bodies or flesh coming out of the body and hanging out. Those are really, really bone chilling. How do you maintain your emotional balance?
That, and I've seen bodies too, Srilata, whether it is young children who have, for no reason at all, taken their lives. I've seen buses that have been burnt with the bodies, and then you are trying to identify the bodies, and people come and how
Charred
to
to
identify
death.
a body that's completely charred, or like you mentioned, the flesh coming out. I mean, I don't want to go into the gory details, but all that and more one has seen, and one has to um, in one sense, say that life is very ephemeral. But whatever you have of it, the beauty of it, the happiness of it, I think it only reaffirms that. And you try to. I remember doing a series on just people who lost a loved one, in a tragedy, and how they coped with it, what they did. For instance, there's a couple in Hyderabad many years ago. They lost a son. This Mohan transplant, the group that they're the most active uh, in the country, I think.
Right.
They converted their son's death into something very meaningful. They started talking about transplantation and
Right.
talking to people who are losing like that. The trauma of seeing dead bodies and coming home is difficult. Uh, uh, every time there's a loss, I've covered huge numbers of farmer suicide deaths, and every time you go, and it is not just a tragedy, because the entire family uh, is kind of lost after that, because
True.
he's the bread earner of the family. And then you see what has happened to the family. Some of these farmer families I've covered longitudinally over 20 years to see what happens. Some of them have got support from our viewers. They went to school, they got educated. So that way I feel a little happy that that happened. I've gone to their marriages. They were once school children, and now they have grown up to become adults,
Adults.
have their own children as well. So I know of such families as well. But I'm saying death is always difficult. Those kind of
Sure.
disasters is always difficult. You asked about my family. I want to mention to you COVID. During the COVID crisis, when there was this huge fear, we were perhaps only people going out and reporting. And I remember the commissioner, the health secretary, everybody would say, "We are not there. Why are you going out there and doing this kind of?" What had happened was, at that time, uh, initially we were afraid, we were scared. Everyone was afraid and scared, but somebody needed to tell the stories, and we had to go out and tell those stories. And it was amazing that all through, even though I went into the hospitals, I was at this distance from COVID patients at that time when there was a scare, and I was doing those reporting. We went inside the uh, containment zones, and we were
Mm.
reporting there as well. But neither I nor my camera person, we didn't even take a driver, because we would go either on a bike, or he would drive the car, and we would go, my camera person and I, and we started reporting. It became all the more important for us to report those stories when we started reporting about the people who were affected by it, and they started walking. Srilata, that's a story that it's something. They started walking, and there were some children who died.
Mm.
There was, one man who had started walking from Nagpur. He was to go into Tamil Nadu, and I'd gone to a community center where people were kept for the night. It was a shelter for not COVID people, but for people who are walking like that, because the migrants who are there here. And he was a 24-year-old man. He just collapsed and died. He just collapsed and died. And then even to send the body home, how was it possible? We then contacted the authorities, because it was all said and done. I mean, it's easy to say it will get done then and there. Even to send a body at that time, state boundaries were closed, borders were closed. We went up
Right.
to Amit Shah's office, and we got permission, and that
Mm.
arrangements, and we crossed the borders. There is a top officer in in Andhra Pradesh from Tamil Nadu who also helped. Everyone got his permissions and the body reached home. I don't know whether that's meaningful, but it's still some meaning, some closure the family needed to have.
True,
So
true.
at that time, I remember my husband was doing some reporting. Afterwards, buses started for these people because there were nothing that could take them home and they were dying just walking on the road. Oh, it was pathetic to see them carrying whatever their families were, small children
Right.
walking, and no end to the walking. And when I did that, so he said, "Do you remember you have a child at home and you've got people at home? Please don't come home." He said. I mean, he was saying it in anger. Then he also knows he's a journalist, so he also knows and he understands why this was important, why it was important for us to tell those stories. And it was an emotional reaction because he thought one of the elders in our family was infected because of me at that time. That's what had happened. There's an outcome. My mother was infected, and I do believe that there's a long-term effect that has had on my mother as well. She's a Parkinson's patient already, but it had other effects because
Ramifications. Yeah.
COVID. This was in the second phase, second and third phase that it happened. That's when I got an infection, and I feel guilt.
Uma, you mentioned about young adults or young youngsters committing suicide, taking their own lives, and they succumb to tiniest of pressures. I don't get my mother or my parents are not allowing me to buy a new smartphone, so I want to take my own life, or my father's not allowing me to buy a new bike, so I take my own life. What is the advice you would tell all these young students, your degree students or your management PG students?
Not just buying. If you don't allow them to play a game for half an hour, someone can take their life. That has also happened. I have reported on such cases as well where they have done that. Uh, my thing is, it's not just to the students, it is to the parents and to the larger society as well. One, you're not teaching children to cope with failures. It's okay to fail and you can move on. It is not the end of the world. Nothing is going to go away because you got 40 marks in science or even 4 marks in science or you got a big zero in science. It doesn't matter. There have been, all of us know of classmates in school who may have been you may have been the brilliant and they may have been the ones who were the teacher may have been scolding them not doing well in class, and now I know of many such examples of very successful entrepreneurs, very successful in certain other things that they have done. They're happy individuals. That's what matters. One, we don't teach people uh, how to cope with and no for an answer, whether when it's
True.
a fair or whether it's a pen or whether it's a mobile phone, to say that yes, in life you won't get everything. I think you need to teach children that everything that you aspire for, you will not get. That can be even a rank one or a first class. You work hard for it. You may get it, you may not get it. There will be something else that you can work towards. Of course, you need to teach them values of hard work. You need to teach them values of achievement and the joy that achievement can give you. But not at the cost of their own lives. It's parents are imposing their expectations. I will share with you just now. I mean, image in my phone of a child who has written a suicide note to her mother, to her parents before she passed. And what does that say? I'm sorry, I'm not up to it. That's what the child has said and left the world. I mean, all her life, all their life, the parents are going to be guilt proof.
Heartbroken. Yeah.
Heartbroken. You just can't. I mean, when I see notes like that, I'm driven to tears all the time. That note stays in my thing, and I, because this was a little recent, but I'm saying it's so heartbreaking to see children
True.
do this, and we don't have the right to do that to our children. I think we need to address this issue because it's something that's taking away young lives, and therefore everyone needs to address this. But not just the parents, not just the teachers. Youngsters also need to be taught that life is too precious to be given away like that. And if A is not going to work out, it's going to be B. See, I may have wanted to be a medical doctor. I didn't become a medical doctor. I may have wanted to become an entrepreneur. I didn't become an entrepreneur. Wanted to become an IAS officer. I did not become an IAS officer. I did not even think I would become a journalist. I became a journalist and I'm enjoying it. I
True.
enjoy my career in it. So there is enough in this world that you can, and it same applies for love as well. I mean, if it is not A, you'll find somebody else who's B.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
B
probably it's a blessing that you didn't get married to that person.
at one point realize that you don't need ABCD at all. Your life is not happy without anyone either. So I'm saying life is full of possibilities. It's your attitude that's going to make a difference. And I think it's that positive attitude. Uh, I always say this. I mean, small habits that you develop that make your life positive towards positivity and an attitude of positivity that's going to help you through life. It's not even your formulas, what you learn, what you do every single day is what will matter ultimately.
As a couple, both you and your husband are journalists. How do you, and are there fights at home saying, "Hey, this is my thought process, or this is my ideology, and Sudhir can be a different ideology"? I'm asking in a very generic manner.
Mhm.
Point one is, there will be or there may be differences of opinion. How do you tackle that? Second is, what are the advantages and disadvantages of being married to a journalist?
Okay. So the good part is that I think we share very similar value systems. And I think that's very important for any couple, about the kind of ethics that you think are important, about the kind of way in which you want to live life. Uh, that these things are priorities, that we will live life a particular way. And I think that matched. And I think that's something that uh, youngsters must realize. Uh, it's one thing is about falling in love. We also had a love marriage, but even more important is to be very good friends who understand each
Right.
other, who understand each other's strengths, and who understand each other's weaknesses as well, and to be able to help you do that. That's what a friend is meant for, and that's what a life partner. Uh, Marrying a journalist was advantageous for the simple reason that they understand the pressures of the job, and that perhaps applies to every profession. I mean, medical profession.
Right.
Which profession doesn't have stress now? But somebody who can understand that, yes, if I go away at 6 in the morning and don't return till late at night, he understands that that's because the kind of job I have, and he has similar kind of pressures and commitments because of which he'll be there. So that understanding comes because you understand uh, the profession, one, and two, you respect that person's work and that person itself. So that I think has been important. Of course, there are going to be always things that we outsource as much as possible, in the sense that we live simple lives, but we will have somebody to help us, so that it's not like,
True.
oh, clean the house, I clean the house kind of
Hmm.
arguments don't happen. And if we both don't do it, it's fine. We both are having work, and therefore we will not do it. So that argument can happen, you did or you didn't, but you outsource those kind of things which are not in core important to you. I mean, it's not that you as individuals need to do it. You can outsource it.
No, my question was more specifically in the context of your ideology or your thought process to cover a particular incident, while he may have a completely different opinion about it.
um Yeah, it can happen, but we don't interfere in each other's
Sure.
thought. Largely, maybe because you start, I don't know whether you start influencing people say, "Oh, many years, husband and wife start looking like brother and sister because they're so
Right.
similar," they say. So maybe because you respect the other person and you listen to their viewpoint, and you sometimes get convinced that, oh, okay, that's maybe the right thing to do. Or sometimes you think, no, 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 what I said was right, and this is why it is.
Hmm.
So you can, I think, you start, in a sense, I found this, at least in my case, that we start having a similar view on what a
Sure.
particular thing is right or wrong, because our the value systems evolve similar. There is no
Hmm.
why flash about, oh my God, I want to make money this way. We both of us always felt that money only needs to be made the right way, and there is no other
Right.
way we needed money, and we did not need that extra money. What was ours, we want to live it within those things. So those kind
Sure.
of value systems that there is certain thing about truthfulness,
Right.
honesty. Those were important to both of us. We were simple. We were not, someone wanting a very party going lifestyle and another wanting to be a home bird. Both of us are very home bird kind of people. I mean, we enjoy going out with each other or to some social events, but largely our work takes precedence or family takes precedence. That's how we have been.
Sure.
So that clash has not come. Of course, during COVID time when the domestic help is not there, uh, more possibility of that kind of a thing where you have to do, you have to take
All
care
the
of the.
work.
But we evolved our own methods with which we do, and we do understand that those are temporary irritations that can happen.
Sure.
About when there is too much, so many dishes are waiting for you in the
Hmm.
sink. Nobody is happy about it because you want a home that's clean and so on. So those were challenges, but you evolve and learn through them and understand that those are minor things, commissions that happen, as long as respect is there for what you value and support is there for each other.
As a woman journalist, what are the inputs, what are the advice, what are the suggestions that you would give a young journalist, young woman journalist?
If you're thinking about a news journalism career, yes, life is going to be tough. It is, you don't have very specific timings most of the time. If you're of course, even there you will have beats, let's say, but somebody like me who is looking after a region, I could be gone anytime, uh, any day. It could be a Sunday, it could be a Saturday, it could be 12 at midnight. I may have to be working, and I do that. So those kind of irregular timings, not a very, you don't have a thing that, I'm going at 8 to office and I'll come back at 5 in the evening. That doesn't happen. It is not going to happen. Be ready for that. But it's also true that it is full of exciting possibilities, and if you have the frame of mind for looking at new things every single day, meeting new people and trying to understand new things. You may not be an expert in all those fields, but the people are kind enough to want to talk to you and tell you about what they do, and they will share what their views are, and that way that is a very enriching experience. And I think for women, the challenges are quite universal in terms of the kind of roles that they're expected to play at home. And it's not just the expectations of others; it's the women who are putting many of those expectations on themselves. So be clear. I have a feeling that from my generation of people to the younger generation of people, they're a very evolved lot. They know what they want.
Sure.
They know where to draw the line, and they know that I'm not going to be doing this. And I think they're very clear about it. And while people in my generation or older may question, saying that adjustment kavali or adjustment undali, or kind of doing it, I think they'll negotiate their way through because they know what is important to them. So that kind of advice I don't want to give. I only want to say that keep it positive. You realize that family is important, relationships are important, and give them their due while you want to while you are on this course for self actualization or achievement to become something. You will realize that everyone is a partner in the process, from your the person who comes in to help, domestic help, to your watchman, to your mother-in-law, to your parents. Everyone, I mean, everyone's played a part for me. I mean, they've all been big contributors. Without guilt. I told you, my in-laws looked after my child when I was away at work, and I was without guilt and without worry that she will, who is going to be looking after her. They somebody, because you earn their trust and respect, and
Right.
believe, if you're able to do that, I think it's a great thing. So therefore, realize that everything is valuable that you have around you. So even when you're women, networking is important, and networking, don't do it only for the sake of somebody's important looks important today and they may be useful to you tomorrow. Network for the sake of the joy of somebody's, the value offer to you in terms of their own positivity, energy, something that they will bring to your life,
Sure.
and you will realize that somewhere or the other it helps.
Right. Two questions. Is one is today youngsters want everything in a jiffy, like everything cannot be made as 2-minute Maggie noodles. But they all are, while you rightly said, they're tech savvy, they're smart, they're intelligent, they know what they want to achieve, but they want it in a very short time. Second is, how do you deal with pressure? What is the advice that you would give for youngsters to deal with pressure? These are my I would request you to answer.
One, if they want to achieve it first, let them feel free to do it. So they will determine their own pace soon enough. I mean, what I find is the different. I mean, I find, in fact, people of my generation are getting stressed about wanting to do this and wanting to do that and so on. Whereas I find the younger generation actually quite clear about the fact that they don't want to be spending all their hours just working. For instance, my daughter would say, yes, I will assign some time to work, some time for my own whatever else that I want to do. So I find many youngsters quite clear-headed that they are not
Sure.
going to be, driven by somebody else's mandate. And that's what I hear, in fact, from HR managers as well, that youngsters these days, or employees, when you're freshly recruited, they have very different outlook. They're not saying, one job le liya, to yahi zindagi bhar hum karenge. No, they are very willing to move. They're not carrying a baggage of,
Right.
expectations and weight. So that is one thing. So if they want to do it faster, today's generation, it is possible to do many things faster. We are seeing billionaires, for instance, the Zepto story or something like that. Youngsters at 20, they have become billionaires. I mean, they are building a $1 billion company. So that is also possible. So only thing is, don't put that pressure in a negative manner. If you, whatever you achieve, get, uh, realize that that is valuable. Whatever you have, please look at yourself and see whatever you have and value what you have, whether it is the health that you have, the intellect that God has given you, or your genetics have given you, the upbringing that your parents have given you. All that is reason for a lot of gratefulness.
Right.
Some of the pressure is because you're comparing. You're comparing with somebody else and saying, "Do I want to be her, or she is getting somewhere where I want to be." Everyone has a unique position in the world, and
True. True.
pressure.
True.
I found myself under pressure during deadlines, but other kind of pressures, I'm not very sure. It's our insecurities that give us pressure. I think it's
True.
time to start thinking about each one of us, because even in the future, organizations are not going to be vertical the way we have spoken of, I mean, the way we have been used to in our generation. They are going to be, I think,
Lateral. Yeah.
organizations uh, they're rather, rather horizontal. I mean, people will have their own unique areas of specialization, and they do their work professionally and do it well, and that's what will earn them reward. So pressure comes when you have a boss who you don't like and who's making you do stuff that you don't like, etc., isn't it? So I think increasingly youngsters are demanding that space and getting it as well. So work from
Right.
home is, I am my own boss, and I do my things at my pace, but I deliver for you what you need me to. So I think that equation, youngsters are now setting those kind of demands. COVID may have helped that process. And I think it's working well for organizations as well, because they understand that there's an overall well-being of a person, happiness quotient that they must address as well before they get good outcomes.
Right. In fact, one of my earlier guests for this podcast was a happiness coach, and he spoke exactly what you spoke. My last two questions, Uma, is in today's age and technology, there's so much of fake news. What would you say, or what would you advise or tell about the fake news, and what is your takeaway on that?
Fake news is a very big danger. Uh, a lot of it is malified, a lot of it is mischievous, deliberate, and it's not going to go down, because technology is only helping it get simpler, easier, and more rampant, and the ramifications are immense for the world, are immense. And I don't think we are even beginning to understand where we are getting there. I mean, initially when we saw videos that went viral of, say, The Godfather with Mohanlal and others being, replaced for the original actors, and all of us were hugely amused and said, "Oh my God, what tech savvy thing!" The man who made it was from Kerala, and he said, "I'm not going to make another video like this, because I understand that it is huge potential for mischief and danger." So fake news is very real. The other important thing to understand is that news is a commodity is very important for all of us. Credibility of news, trustworthiness of news is also very important. It's also a fact that more number of people now rely on social media platforms, YouTube and others, for news rather than what are the professional news organizations. Youngsters, in fact, will not pay. There is a research that shows that they do not pay for subscribing for news from any kind of a platform that may be considered as a professional news platform. They would rather get whatever they're getting free on different platforms, whether it is whether it is YouTube or it is Google, Instagram, or any other, or any of those platforms from which they would prefer to get the news. The problem that
But
happens,
WhatsApp University is rampant. So, what do you suggest about that?
and rampant, and India is the leader in that. I mean, actually, across all these platforms, Indians are the maximum users, despite
Right.
the fact that, we say we are 1.4 billion and a country with so much of poverty and so on and so forth, and we have 700, the half the population, more than half the population has smartphones, and
Absolutely.
consume. We are all on digital dopamine, and that includes the people in rural India as well. And they consume news much more actually than urban India. Rural India consumes more news than urban India.
True.
So the dangers are big. What I'm saying is that you need credibility in news. Otherwise, you're going to be a very confused world at the end of it, and you will not know where to turn to for reliable news. So that's why I think it's important for people to understand that they perhaps need to look out for either individuals who are personal brands of trustworthiness, or they look to organizations that are brands of trustworthiness, and also look to that. Uh, One of the advantages that India always had was that we had plurality in the kind of media we had. In one sense, you can say that that plurality, though we have numbers, that plurality may be waning, maybe on the wane for sure. But the fact that we have multiple platforms, social media platforms as well now, those are reasons for hope to say that. And also, technology is being used as an answer to take out fake news as well. There is research to show that fake news travels, I think there is a calculation, I forget, 15 times or 20 times faster than real news. So it
True.
will, because people share it. Obviously, fake news is much more something that is exciting, something that's spicy or gossipy. And obviously, people tend to share it much more intentionally otherwise. So everyone needs to be, there's something called digital education to understand when you can identify fake news and not to share that kind of content, because it's like in the case of antibiotics, when we say don't abuse antibiotics, because at the end of it you're going to have germs which are all resistant to antibiotics, and you will end up with multi drug resistant antibiotics and you will not know what to do. We are going
Right.
to that kind of a health scenario, and similarly it looks like that kind of a news scenario as well. But technology is providing certain answers, some algorithms which are helping you to identify fake news. And I'm hoping that that's where I actually hope that youngsters will work on platforms like that, because they are savvy about technology. So they should be able to give us answers as well to how to identify fake news, how to stop it from spreading. There are going to be always people, vested interests, whether it's politicians or corporates or even individuals who are going to be using this industry and technology. But I think we also need answers from youngsters who are tech savvy to be able to work on these kind of critical areas.
Right. As a journalist and as a person, what are the changes that you made to yourself when you got into digital media and digital journalism?
So I've started in journalism at a time when earliest of technologies, we used to call it hot metal, and then there was this papers that we had to stick and make newspapers, and then computers came, and then the internet, and then of course now the digital thing. So I've grown from print to digital to television. When it first started in India, Sudhir was there with the when private television started with NDTV, he was part of the NDTV team, and when 24/7 television started, I was part of the television team for NDTV. And then digital, um, we grew along with the growth of the digital network, I think. But for the last 2 decades or so, we have been predicting, and we have been speaking in newsrooms or in college classrooms to say that it is going to be this which is going to be the end user, and not your newspapers and so on, which are physical newspapers, because newsprint is expensive, it takes away trees and so on. So technology has also gone that way. So uh, one of the things we perhaps need, many of us as senior journalists, is also some kind of reverse mentoring from these youngsters. So while we may mentor youngsters to be journalists, we can perhaps learn technology from them. That's what happened in like it happens in every household, I guess. So our daughter teaches us some technology as well.
Right.
So I think that we have not grown up. They were born with this internet and tech
True,
tools.
true,
We were not, didn't exist when we were born, and we didn't
true.
grow up with them. And therefore, there's a, uh, there's a completely different mindset that they come with, and their mind would operate in a different manner, and our processes would be very different because we are from a different generation. And therefore I think it's important to learn from youngsters these tech tools. And it's a tough road for us, because you're not, as I said, we are not born in that generation, and therefore it's an effort. But if you're not going to learn, you're going to be a fossil.
Right. My last question. You have covered various spheres of journalism. What is it which really excites you? Is it cultural? Is it political? Is it disaster journalism? What does it excite you? Or what is your liking towards?
Okay, so I've done obviously politics and elections. I've done
You've
gen.
covered my sister's programs as well.
women issues. I've done sports. I've done business. I've done children's issues hugely, education. All that I've done. What I'm telling you,
Culture.
fiction for that matter. Sometimes you will do film stars and films as well. Uh, but what is exciting about journalism is that you get a um, experience of everything. And I think that is what has made it that medley, that kind of a kaleidoscope of things that you get into. I think that's what is most exciting. If you were only to do one kind of work, it would get boring. If I were only to do business journalism, I think I'd get bored after a while. Only politics, you'll get cynical after a while. So the fact that you get to do so many different kinds of things, and you can even choose what all you want to do at
Hmm.
a particular time, or sometimes you cannot choose during elections, but at other times you can make these choices. Okay, I'm bored with it. I'd like to do something like this. And I think that makes it, and there's something, I mean, it is challenging, but it is at the same time exciting that every day you really don't know what you're going to be doing then.
Hmm.
Sometimes you may plan ahead that I'm going to shoot this documentary, I'll be going there for a special story, I'll be meeting these people for an interview, etc. But there's an unpredictability to it, and I think that's a lot of adrenaline. So it is this that makes it most exciting.
Wonderful talking to you, Umar. Thank you so much for being our guest today. We Leadership Series, Leadership Talk Series, and on behalf of My Startup TV, we thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.